Oscar Wilde wrote in 1892 that a cynic is someone who knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. He might have been writing about Winston Peters, actually, who I think had entered Parliament not long before he wrote this, but I guess, that kind of thing is lost to the mists of history now. But it is a really good way of also looking at how both sides of the political aisle here approach their priorities as we dive into the election season. The right tends to focus on the private sector. After all, they're the one getting millions of dollars from the private sector right now to run dumb billboards around the country trying to scare voters into letting them keep doing what they're doing. And I'm sure every time you go and pay your power bill or buy groceries, you can see exactly how well that's working for everybody. The right tend to measure success in the short term with goals like getting a surplus, even if it means changing the way that they measure debt. So it means that they can say they got there faster, which they didn't because the debt's still there. They've just moved it into a different column and changed how things are measured. The left tend to measure outcomes in the long term, and sometimes it even means results might not be seen for some time after these people have left office. The right tends to focus on personal responsibility. The left tends to focus on societal causes, which are corrected at a much slower rate. The right will tell you cutting taxes is saving you money right now, while the left will tell you cutting taxes makes no difference if everything else is skyrocketing in price. One clearly tends to focus on cost, the other on value. But it's much harder to sell value to media and therefore to the wider public. The problem with that, though, is it creates a false economy. All right? A cut here might seem like it's a saving, but it's got a knock-on impact that's going to be far worse. Think of it this way. Out in space, two asteroids, they bump into each other, but miles away and years later, the dinosaurs get wiped out because of it. And by looking at already announced policies from Labour and the Greens, we can actually see that they seem to know the price of doing what we're doing now, as well as looking at the value of what it is that they're proposing. Okay, like the primary healthcare sector. This week, Simeon Brown announced an increase in budget for general practices on the condition that they froze their fees for a year, claiming that this was to help with the cost of living crisis. Now, as a casual patient at my local medical centre, that would mean I would still need to pay $130 to see a doctor. But Labour's Medicard plan would give me 3 free GP visits a year. That's $390 worth of savings for me. But also, every dollar spent on primary care saves $13 to $16 on downstream healthcare costs. Covering one of those doctor visits now saves the taxpayer over $2,000 down the line from not having to take care of that rash that I really should have seen a doctor about beforehand. And when it comes to healthcare, Labour's not just announced the doctor visits, there's also things like the Family Doctor Loan Scheme, funding for phone triage systems, Digital Innovation Fund for GP administration costs, and free cervical cancer screenings for women aged 25 to 69. All designed to improve primary care options and early intervention to stop those costs ballooning 16 times higher down the line. The coalition cancelling fees free for tertiary students this year after, lying about its success and leaving thousands of students in more debt than planned, that saved $300 million in the budget this year. Data out of other OECD countries shows that people with higher incomes through tertiary study increase their tax take by 6 to 8% annually higher through higher earning ability and lifted productivity, which goes on then to increase the GDP. The younger people get qualified, the longer that they earn at those higher rates, so the more they contribute to the tax stream. And those with qualifications tend to be more resilient earners in terms of economic downturn, because skilled workers are at a premium. So, cutting fees free isn't saving money, it's shrinking the future tax base and driving future brain drains. Both the Greens and Labour have said they intend to bring back fees free in some form. Labour's Future Fund is an investment designed to stop that brain drain. 355,000 people have gone to Australia this term because they couldn't see a future here. This fund is designed to create a capital support structure to help encourage Kiwi startups in fields already being driven overseas. When that happens, they take their skills, their intellectual property, and their future tax revenue with them. This fund helps build a more diverse economy, keeps wealth in the country, and helps create future industry stability for others to join and grow. Every time a Kiwi moves to Aussie these days, we've subsidised the Australian economy a little bit more. The Future Fund is designed to help keep those investments here, and that also means the importance of upkeeping assets that are going to be used to fund the Future Fund, and it makes it much more than just an expense, it's now an investment. Right now, we're at the mercy of global fossil fuel markets. Its volatility has massive impacts here, and the coalition have a thing for them, citing them as the only way forward in an energy crisis. future dry years impacting hydro dams and keeping the doors open for business owned by organisations that give them money for their campaigns. See, here's Simeon's post yesterday where he almost gets the point, but I guess the point must be on a high shelf so he can't reach it without standing on a chair. The Greens electrification plans would move our resilience planning away from those volatile industries and sources and more towards renewables. We suddenly become less impacted by volatile presidents doing dumb things and more resilient when natural disaster strikes, with the added bonus of not adding to the damage with harmful pollutants in the supply chain for power supply. The costs of renewables are higher up front, but we can pay for those now or pay for emergency infrastructure repairs later with the added bonus of oil spills later along the way. And their costs and returns are much more stable if we go with the electrification model, making it much easier for power companies to plan and sell and keep costs under control for consumers long term. And the coalition will say, we're making it easier to build solar, but they're not lowering the cost now to get that long-term value out of it tomorrow. And there's a million examples of the coalition saying, let's do something now to save money that costs more down the line because they don't get the value. Things like cutting funding to Whaikaha, the ferry cancellations, ending the smoke-free laws, cancelling pay equity, cutting back Dunedin hospitals, stopping social housing builds while kicking people out of emergency housing, and banning being homeless in city centres and making it harder to receive any kind of emergency help from MSD, although punishing those who can't meet the requirements for whatever reason. Cancelling fees-free, reducing specialist targeted health initiatives, taking out contextual understanding from school curriculums, firing 20,000 public servants to funding, learning support, gutting climate change resilience funding and disaster relief funding, and enshrining the Libertarian Light Act values in the Regulatory Standards Act are just a few that could be named. Of course, it'll be voters who get to tell us if they know the difference between price and value on November 7, but they're not going to be able to do that this year if their voting details aren't up to date by October 25. So head to vote.nz and check that out, because the cost of your vote is nothing, but the value of it could be priceless. Hello there, Kia ora podcast listeners. Hey, this episode has been a bit of a strange one for me because, well, let me give you a bit of background, okay? There has been some conversations I've been having with other content creators in the left sphere of content around how we try and push the idea of value versus costs. The right is really good at going, we saved you $2.50 because of tax cuts. And that's fine, but, mince is the highest price that it's been in years. You might have saved us $2.50 on tax cuts, but we're not getting the same value for it. At the same time, policies that we're seeing out of the left have got value attached to them long term. And that's something that we actually struggle with a lot in New Zealand, or as an audience. It's really hard to see the value of long-term investments, which is why I was really fascinated to find stories around the super fund, but nothing recent, only stuff from before the last election saying this is how big the super funds got. Look how amazing it was to think long term when Michael Cullen did that. And so I wanted to make sure we got a bit of that in there in terms of the policies that I talk about, because one of the other things that's really fucking me off at the moment is how much News Talk and the Herald are pushing those "we've heard no policies from Labour" line, which is absolute bullshit, because there are policies out there. They made a big song and dance. You might remember the Future Fund that New Zealand First complained about, or capital gains tax, which National has definitely complained about, but they are apparently not policies. Now, it's weird. It's very weird. They're just weird people. But during the whole process of making this episode, there was something that kept going off in the back of my head. I'm like, what is it? There's something I'm missing here. And I just realized it now that I've finished recording, that it's actually something to do with my studio. So behind me, directly behind me, there's a tweet there from a creator called Adrian Bolt. And the tweet itself is over a decade old now. It was done in 2016 when something happened to be in the States, I guess. Don't know what was happening in America in 2016 that might have led to this particular tweet. But it says, "I can't believe the leopards ate my face, sobs woman who voted for leopard eating faces party." Going through the list of things that have been cancelled or cut back or changed because of this government and their need to save dollars, or, pay for tobacco company and landlord tax cuts, it felt very much like we've missed so much, we've lost so much. The leopards have eaten our faces. Now, I really hope that there are people out there who voted for the coalition who have gone, oh shit, we have missed out because of, oh shit, it's impacted us this way. For a lot of people it doesn't happen. It's a cognitive dissonance that's just too hard to get over. But I really do hope that there are voters out there going, shit, I need to go back and course correct. I need to reconsider where my vote is going. I need to remember how I was impacted by what happened when I voted in, because I just felt like we needed a change. I mean, it's in the past. I'm not going to dwell on it. So that's what today's episode is about. I hope it's a bit insightful as well. It gives you an idea as to how long-term planning is something that we don't do well in this country. When it comes to our politics, we often think in 3-year cycles, and when things are tough like they are now, it's understandable that we sit there going, how do we make things easier now? So yeah, I guess have a listen to that. I think Labour has a cost of living announcement to make in the next couple of days, so this was recorded before that. I don't know what the announcement is. Why don't they tell me? But it is recorded before that, so hopefully whatever the announcement is one that adds into this particular topic about getting value in what it is that we spend our government money on and who we vote for. Alright, I should do the whole, don't forget to like, click, share, subscribe, thumbs up, I don't know what the other options are, email this to your mates, one of those things. Tonight, yesterday, this is how good my time thing is at the moment in my mind brain. Last night, we put out the first of the campaign Kōrero, as well in print edition. So if you haven't already, head along to the link in my bio. Go check out the Substack stuff. This is one that I'm going to be doing for free. Everybody gets it every week for free if you sign up for it. Paid subscribers will also everybody will get the updates on Fridays, like the deep dive on Friday. But paid subscribers get it earlier. So that's the pitch, I guess. Until next time, look after yourself, and I'll catch you guys all later.